Hello, all my beautiful, delicious, and lovely people out there, and welcome back to the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast. My name is Seráphino, and I'm coming to you from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, where I am down here for Puerto Vallarta Pride. And today we are going to be talking about why I changed my last name from Hubert to Seráphino, and we'll get into a little bit about what prompted me to move to New York City. I will record a different episode about New York City in and of itself because it is truly a magically delicious place. As Newt Scamander said it, to quote him loosely from Fantastic Beasts, New York is significantly more magical than what I expected that it would be. That boy was on to something. So we we're going to talk about the power that comes along with changing a name and the power that can come from shifting cities specifically. This sort of thing is not for everybody. Not that much really is for everybody, but if you're going to do it, I want to explain to you some of the intricacies that can can come along with it and some energetic considerations as well. If you want to check out our TikTok channel over at Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast on TikTok, I posted some pictures from the Puerto Vallarta Pride Pink Party opening party, which we went to last night. It was a fundraiser, raised several $1,000s for Puerto Vallarta. Shangela was there hosting it. There was some other drag queens from RuPaul's Drag Race in the audience and the crowd. The fireworks were amazing at the end, and it was just pink for days, giving Barbie realness, Barbie life. I was there for it. I was at the cutest table talking to people from all over the world. People from all over the world that come to Puerto Vallarta Pride. Tonight is my night in the sense that we are celebrating this pride under a Sagittarius full moon. I am a Sagittarius sun, a Scorpio ascendant, and this big, beautiful full moon appear in this sky on the beach as I will be twirling tonight, getting my life, getting my healing while I'm dancing on the dance floor. I'm stepping out late and I'll be back sometime before high noon tomorrow because this is a circuit party weekend. And so your girl is going to twirl, and that's all that there is to it. So, why the fuck would I changed my last name? I've been on this earth physically. It'll be 42 years in December. Although your girl gets younger every year, so I'll be turning 13 this December period because age and time are an illusion. We can be whatever age we fucking want. And so I decide that I will be younger every year, and that's all that there is to it. It's done. It's decided, period. The the devastation that happened last year was the culmination of devastation that was started with the fuckboy that my mom married. And and so then therefore, and I say that because he was cheating on her while she was pregnant with me, and then that caused me to be born into this narcissistic cycle where every guy I dated was some type of cheater. None of them had like a sexual self-control, and I did not track that it was a pattern. I didn't track that it was a pattern until last year when I ended the relationship that was the longest relationship that I had, but it was still with a narcissistic cheater. And then I began to be drawn to certain knowledge, certain information, certain videos on YouTube, certain esoteric circles, because as I began to break away from that energy, I began to ascend, and so new knowledge was coming to me, and then I began to learn what karmic cycles are. I get more finite information on exactly what the thing that people call generational curses, like what that actually fucking means. And so for me, that it having been influenced by a narcissist, and most narcissists are also sex addicts too, because those two things tend to run in tandem with each other. The way they go about lurking, trying to get energy from people because they don't have it within themselves. But being raised in that influence was the problem. And I changed my name because I wanted to get all of this energy off of me. Now, could I have done it without changing my name, released myself? Everybody's got their own path. And as I said, changing your name is not for everybody. There could be other considerations that I might not be factoring in. I'm explaining this to you because anybody has the power to change their name. You can change it spiritually, which is what counts the most. Going like I'll tell you in more detail in a second, but I went down to Guadalajara and did like a spiritual thing to change my name. And then I also filed to change it in the court, or I'm still working on that aspect of it because there was a slight little glitch with that. But don't worry, your boy gonna overcome because I overcome all things. And you just got to be careful when you're dealing with like an influence in your family from narcissistic energy because Lucifer's power, Lucifer's power is just as infatuating as it is deadly to those who wield it. Okay. And when and women cheat, men cheat, non-binary, it doesn't matter if somebody identifies physically or sexually, but what they don't understand is that when they step out there and do things they're not supposed to with people who they really don't fucking know, who they're just attracted to or whatever and thought they were gonna have a good time with, that shit, it tracks back not just to them, but to anybody who they're connected to energetically. It's like they went and lit a dynamite that just has a really long cord or string to it. The dynamite cord could be miles long, and it might take weeks, months, years, or decades if a spark is lit at the end of that dynamite to finally catch up to that dynamite and make it go kablooey, but it will. And then once the damn thing explodes, it's not just gonna fucking kill and hurt the narcissist or the cheater, whoever the fuck they are. And if it's not cheating and narcissism, then fill in the blank with whatever kind of destructive shit has collateral damage all around it. It has this whole area of damage that it affects. Doesn't just hurt and kill the narcissist, but it fucks up everybody attached to them too. And that's just the way it fucking goes. So our actions are not done in a vacuum, and we have these energetic connections with people we accept deeply into our lives, be it our inner circle of friends, romantic relationships, or like amongst the deepest kind, because you share so much more with people who you engage in a romance with, or who you call significant others, really any type of sexual thing, but especially significant other because you spend so much time with those people, and it's like you fuse with people energetically. You're an individual, but you're also in a fusion with people when you engage in a relationship, like in a romantic relationship with people. You're really, really fused with that person. And so any type of sex they're having with anyone else, whether you know of it or not, still tracks back to you. And so you cannot separate yourself from what they're doing because you've chosen to be in a relationship with this person. It's super reckless of them to go out and do that. And this is the sort of person that my dad is. And so then I was born with this energy. And then when I became aware of how this shit was pulling on me and affecting me, I said, oh, hell, fucks no. I'm coming up out of this shit. What can I do? I had a dream, which I've referenced many times. I'm going to say it again for those of you who may be new to the show. When I was in Dubai getting ready to turn 40, and in this dream, I saw my mother in a car fire completely engulfed in flames. The flames almost looks like clonic in nature, almost like they were moving in a circle. There was no coming back from this. If somebody gets burnt up like that in dream space, it wasn't about her. It was about a change that I was about to go through. But you understand that sort of fire, you were seeing like a car on fire. There's no more car left. All you have was a burnt pile of rubble. And so I understood that there wasn't going to be any more Devannon, all right, after the devastation of the last relationship that I went through, there wasn't going to be any more Devannon. And so I just really, really leaned into that and was like, let's just see. I thought about like in the Bible, how you have like Joseph who changed his name was changed by Pharaoh to Zapnapaneah. We have Israel, Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. We have Abram, whose name was changed to Abraham. Certain parts of certain cities and lands receive like a name change because names bear meaning. They mean things. And so in my mind, I was like, all right, well, if I've been totally just destroyed and all this havoc wreaked by this devastation, then what the fuck do I need this name for anymore? I thought about what the family that I was born into represented and just how much I don't have in common with them. So I was like, well, nothing's forcing me to be a part of this family. I don't have to. If there's no actual fucking reasons for me to stick around, then why would I? Not because I should. Your family doesn't own you. They might try to act like they do, but they actually don't. And if you're not, Jesus said there's a friend that sticks closer to a brother. And when people were trying to let Jesus's mother and brother into one of his teachings, he did not accept that. He said, "Who is my father? Who is my brother? Who is my mother? Whoever does the will of my father." And so family is an action thing. It's something that has to be earned. We people bestow titles of brother, father, friend, mother too easily. People must always be earning their position in your life. And if they ever stop earning that position, then it's time for them to be excommunicated. Okay, then you can remove yourself. But what we're not going to do is keep people in our lives just because of a title they hold, friend, lover, brother, mother, sister. If nobody on no job gets to keep that job if they no longer fulfill the bullet points or the duties of that job description. No, they don't. You stop doing what that job calls for, your ass gets fired. It is no fucking different if we're dealing with some sort of relationship dynamic. Those positions are fucking earned. They're not just given out freely. And then people get into this presumptuous mindset of, well, we're family, so we're always going to fight, but always make up. No, bitch, stop fighting. Get over your dysfunctions and heal your inner wounds. We don't have to fight. That's not a part of life. Doesn't have to be. People, it's like they just got comfortable with it. I said, not today, Satan. I don't want to fight anymore. And so I stopped and I got away from people with like friction and shit within them. When people are born, especially in other countries, and they're given names, people try to pick names that they hope that child is gonna live up to. When certain people got ready to be born, be it John the Baptist, Jesus, certain people, angels would come down and say, this kid is gonna be born, you're gonna name him this. Angels got other things to do with their time. They're not gonna do anything that's not worthwhile. Why did John the Baptist need to be called John? Why did Jesus need to be called Jesus? What God is trying to communicate to you is to name your children with intention, and that also your name carries meaning. It's not just the name. So Seráphino is a derivation from the seraphim angels, which you can see like in the book of Isaiah. Both the cherubim and the seraphim have fire in them, but for whatever reason, the seraphim seem to be more referred to as the burning ones, or seem to have more of a connotation of fire about them than the cherubim. But there's several angels that hit it with like some sort of fire element to them. Nevertheless, I thought, and well, thinking about it now, it actually matches well with me being like a fire sign. I I I subscribe to the Zodiac to an extent. There's a lot of things about it that are actually quite accurate and one can use to guide their life, learn about themselves. I believe God, who I serve, is Yahweh. I serve God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Ghost. I don't bow before or serve any other deities. I don't throw shade at people for whatever they believe in. I just like for people to be very clear on who I believe in, as you should be clear on anybody you're listening to on any platform, who they believe in and why. That's just who I believe in, but I believe God has power over the universe, over the planets, therefore over the zodiac. So there's things that can be learned from the sun, the moon, the stars. I don't worship them. I don't view them as like personalities or beings. I view them as energies, which I can learn from, and that God influences to influence us. So for me being a fire sign and somebody who has a fiery nature, can handle extremes, I have a close relationship with angels, and I always have. I thought to myself, what name can I come up with? What? And then, I was reading in Isaiah and I saw seraphim, and I kind of played with that, and then that's how I came up with Seráphino. And so that is where that name comes from. So it has to do with fire, it has to do with angels, and it has to do with the very close relationship that I hold to the angels and to the celestial realm. I reached out to the lead shaman who I know in Guadalajara, and they set up, her and her team, it was 3 shamans, set up a ceremony for me to go down there in September of last year under a specific full moon. And I did a well, we call it Solawaska. It's a different way that you do shrooms down there, mixed in like cacao, all this incense is blowed over it, and different herbs and things are mixed into it. This is not like a psilocybin chocolate bar. This is the real fucking deal here. Within 20 minutes, I was in the trance, so to speak. It doesn't take, when it's done this way, it doesn't take that long. We did a fire ritual. We did a water ritual. It was all kinds of things going on. It was about 5 or 7 hours. And this here was like the official death of Devan and Hubert, and like the coming alive or the birthing of Devan and Seráphino. Court paperwork notwithstanding. I mean, that's like more like a casual thing on the side. The real change was when I got up off that floor down in Guadalajara after all them potions and everything had coursed their way through my system. Then Devan and Seráphino was born. There was even like a burial that we did on the grounds of this ceremony space to bury, okay, Devan and Hubert. Glory to God, Lord have mercy. That ceremony was fucking brutal in terms of like the tears that I cried. I didn't know. I mean, this was September. The breakup that I went through last year was like in January, February. I thought that I was far past that, and in a lot of ways I was. I certainly wanted to be, but some of that trauma was so damn deep, both from that breakup and probably I think that was trauma from like a long fucking time past was coming up. Different psychedelics work differently. I've been to ayahuasca ceremonies, and I didn't have that sort of like that did not come out of me like that. Maybe it was because it was, or at least in part because it was just me and the shamans. It wasn't like a group experience. Oh, for what it's worth, it's cheaper to go get an individual shamanic psychedelic experience in Mexico than it is to get one in the United States usually. Because all of that I did, and it was a lot that I did, was to include renting the ceremony space that we were at was maybe like $600 USD. When I did this in the United States, something along it wasn't nowhere near all this, with all of the feathers and the drums and the music and the singing, and the shaman made me a personal fucking playlist to go along with, tailored to my personal experience. I didn't get all that when I did it in the United States. It was none of that, and it was more expensive. So literally, I could have flown, and this is not like a shoulda, coulda, woulda thing. I'm just comparing because it makes sense to do so. It was more like, I think like $1,000 to spend like a day with like a therapist to guide like an LCSW, like clinical social worker, to guide me through a shroom experience and an MDM, or just a shroom experience. And he used the playlist that he used for everybody. There wasn't like all the drums and all the ceremonial tools and instruments there. There wasn't all the things that they do. Like those shamans will do like Reiki and stuff on you when you're down there if you need it, and all kinds of things. They got all these potions that they spray and use in the middle of it if you need it. They don't do all that. I didn't have that experience in the United States. They charged me more than the United States, and they did far less. I could have flown to Guadalajara, stayed there for a month, had all of this here, and spent about the same. Maybe stayed in Guadalajara for 2 weeks, not maybe like a month. I spent about the same. So in the process of time, the Lord caused me to be aware of this. You can find these sort of people too. If you need this kind of help, message me. I know people in Mexico. My opinion is still being decided on this whole the way that the United States is approaching psychedelics. I'm happy that it is being approached, but it's becoming like too monetized and a little bit too like doctored up, like so to speak. And so this is why you will find me in Mexico a lot doing shamanic rituals and learning straight from the source. Wait, let me get back on track. Thank you for going down that rabbit hole with me. And thus Divana Serafino was born in Guadalajara on a certain full moon in September of the year 2023. Guadalajara is what I would consider to be like my new place of birth, my spiritual place of birth. And so I just went with that. What I have learned is that even though my name changed and I went through those rituals and I cried those very bitter fucking tears, and I mean gut wrenching, crying, mascara running, snot on the floor. I mean, a part of me wanted to run. I couldn't run because I was so fucking high. And I have heard that some people will literally try to fucking run away from the shamans and fight them and shit when stuff starts to come out of them. Part of me wanted to reach for the door, but another part of me knew that wouldn't work. 'Cause quitting and giving up just ain't in my blood. To quote Shawn Mendes, it isn't in my blood. And so I just had to surrender to whatever God was doing. It was an intense, fierce fucking soul surgery that happened to me on that floor. We never know what kind of traumas and problems are not lurking within us. What I am thankful for is that I didn't go about the business of trying to numb all of this pain and shit that I was going through with drugs and sex and porn and alcohol and all of that shit. I fucking faced it and went through it. And it was a terribly beautiful experience to go through. I decided to also get a family coat of arms, which I have put up on like the TikTok channel also. This family coat of arms is one of those things that I've always wanted. In the book of Numbers, chapter 2 in the Bible, we talk about when God had delivered Israel from the nation of Egypt, and they were dividing up the land that they had conquered and fucked up all those people to get their land and shit. And you had like this family had a standard, the family of Reuben, the family of Gad, Naphtali, or whoever. They had standards, that banners and things that represented what the nation of Israel, what each family, the nation of Israel stands for, kind of like what we would call a coat of arms. Coat of arms ain't just for rich families. A coat of arms is something anybody can have. There's really not like there's some website that call themselves like national registries and shit. I don't know if they're trying to make money or whatever, but it is not really like one of those regulated things. I think maybe it's more serious, like over in the UK, but anybody can have a family coat of arms. It is highly sophisticated to me. I have it printed on certain clothing and things like that. I will have it emblazoned on like suit coats. I think that, and it's not just for prep schools or fucking charter schools or Ivy League schools either, or for Hogwarts, for Slytherin, Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw, and Gryffindor. It's not just for them. But don't that shit look badass though? It's a fucking clean look. But I wanted something to represent this new start, this new beginning, and I wanted something to help guide my family in years to come. So when you look at our family coat of arms, at the top of it, you have Yahweh, which is the same as I have on this particular tattoo right here. Yahweh written in Hebrew, the Ancient of Days, before whom I serve. God has many names, but this is the one that I chose, and I put it up there. Under there we have the the thorny crown of Christ, and then below that we have the Holy Ghost, pictured like in flames and things like that. I did not want a cute white dove with a fucking olive branch in his mouth and shit, in her mouth and shit. And I wanted the another aspect of the Holy Ghost. So the Holy Ghost is soft and gentle. The Holy Ghost is a very dynamic and strong force. She can be gentle and she can be fierce, just like the strongest of us, especially the strongest of us who embody a lot of divine feminine. The Holy Ghost is the feminine aspect of the High Trinity. Okay. And when John the Baptist is in the wilderness and he's baptizing Jesus, and we have this image of the Spirit descending on Jesus. Some of the original languages, like the Greek and stuff that I've studied, speak about this as not like a cute white dove slowly flittering down, okay, and just lighting on Jesus. Some of it talks about it being like diving birds. If you ever watched the National Geographic channel or some shit, or Discovery Channel, and you see those birds like diving down to get their prey, it has more of a feeling of the Holy Ghost went down quickly when landed upon Jesus that way. And so the Holy Ghost on the family coat of arms on the shield for House Seráphino, I wanted to make sure that her eyes are looking directly fucking at whoever is looking at that shield. And she looks like she ain't having no shit. Does she come to handle business? She's not to be fucked with. Period. And she is on fire. This is a force before whom none can stand, because none can stand before the Lord. And so the family coat of arms was designed, a beautiful designer who I know, Christos, he lives in Greece, and I've discovered him on 99designs.com way back in the day when I was designing like my books and like the sex, drugs, and Jesus.com, and I just stuck with him because he gets my aesthetic. And so everything I get designed, I pretty much get designed by him. But you can go to 99designs.com or different places and speak with people about designing a family coat of arms if you want to have one. So why would you want a family coat of arms? I believe in imagery, words and the things we see. Everything is spirit, everything is energy. When we look at anything, it leaves an imprint on us. This is why it's important to mind what we give attention to. Everything has an impact on us, though it's subtle, though it's subconscious. Nevertheless, the change is done. I believe a family coat of arms, if it's done right and done well, can help to guide people within the family back to center should they get off track. My family coat of arms is an ode to the Trinity, because to me, what is a family if not a family that operates in holy power, like in spiritual power, that's not in tuned. The family's got to be in tune with who they are spiritually just as much as they are physically. And so I wanted to dedicate myself and my family back to God, because it was God who has given me this chance to live again, having made bad decisions and faced destructions. He pulled me through destructions and brought me out of it all. And when you look up family coat of arms, there's a lot of different ones, and most of them will have things that are important to that family. I don't know, be it derby hats or cars or twigs or fucking leaves. There aren't really any rules that govern it. They can be as big and gaudy as you want, or as simple and cute and chic and sophisticated. Whatever it is you feel that really represents what your family stands for. What does your family stand for? And so my hope is that if my children should get off track one day, or if I myself should get off track one day, I think my cats will be fine. Felicity and Felix are the first two descendants of House Seráphino. Hey, hopefully my children can look at this family coat of arms and be like, get reminded of who they are. So speaking of leading a house, I love how in the Old Testament, when all the families were getting lined up in Israel, how you had fucking order. This person did this person did that, this motherfucker did this. They know who the head of the house was. They know who wasn't. They know who did this. You had fucking structure and discipline physically, aside from them worshiping God and doing the sacrifices and all of that. I mean, like the day-to-day tasks shit, not just like chores. That like there was order to these houses. And so parents, we gotta lead by inspiration, just like the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. You gotta be like parent, friend, leader. You gotta be able to wear different hats and yet maintain to earn respect from your children. Some parents are too forceful, like my dad was, and thought he could just like beat loyalty out of me or command it. Some of y'all are too fucking nice. You're too damn friendly, so much to the point that your children don't view you as a parent. that you got to learn how to be neither too much nor too little. But you're not wrong for wanting to like be friends with your kids because you want to have common ground, but you got to strike that very delicate balance to get to build trust so your kids will come to you and your kids should come to you before they go run to some damn friend or to some fool they don't know, or for fuck's sake, not to the internet, to some app. It's a delicate thing, but you can't let your children rule you, but you can't be trying to like dominate them either. It's like you got to learn how to master the elements within yourself: air, earth, fire, water. The parents, you do have to rule yourself before you can rule your house. You know, so this here gets back to that shadow word. You got to get your mind and your soul together. If you're not together, your children are going to respect you. They're not going to look up to you. And in my opinion, nor should they. You should, like, if you going out about the business of having children, as powerful as it is, and you haven't done your soul work, you fucking up. But if you've had children and you haven't done your soul work, well, today you can. You could start. You can always start. You see, when you have children, it's like you're cooking eternity in your womb, because that being is a soul that is literally going to live forever. At whatever point in the womb that child becomes a soul. Some say it's from the beginning. Some say it's only once they're born, whatever you believe. But the point to you is that what you're planning to make, or what is made within you, is an eternal being that's never going to have an end. Pregnancy and childbirth is something that I've always looked at quite curiously and interesting, how one human can carry another human. Like literally there's like a soul inside of her that is never going to cease its existence. This to me is something that's very humbling. It's super fucking powerful. So what I'm trying to tell you and get you to understand is parenting is eternal business. You're in the business of raising somebody who is eternity. Sperm and eggs carry that eternal essence about them. This is why things like sperm are so fucking powerful in voodoo and witchcraft and certain things like that, because of exactly what it is. I know people squirt it around all over town like it ain't nothing. You see it squirting all over the screen on porn, and seeing things like that put people in this state where they don't value it like they should, because it looks like it's something that just comes and goes. We can squirt this load today, just generate more in like a few minutes. But it's a super powerful substance. All of our DNA that we carry really is, but the power to make life, particularly in between like sperm and eggs, it's like a physical manifestation of eternity to me. This is why the ritual of sex and whatever sort of sexual practice it is carries, some things have a deeper insinuations than others, but it all carries like an eternal like fume. There's like an eternal kind of like smoke, if you will, that rises off of it. So the ritual of sex is something that is done that can create like eternal life. This is why sex is so sacred. Though one of the many reasons why it's so sacred and should not be taken for granted or played with. Family core values. While we're on the subject, this is another thing that I wish the family that I was born into had that didn't. And look, I know no family is going to be perfect. It's up to you to decide if they've done so much that it's time for you to go, or that if you don't have enough in common with them, this is a decision only you can make. You got to pray about it, meditate on it, and be sure it's what you want to do. But I believe in boundaries, and I believe in not letting anybody take advantage of me or take me for granted. And it does not matter who the fuck they are. But I particularly watch out for that for people who can easily become presumptuous about it, like blood family or significant others or coworkers, or people who, or anybody who thinks that no matter what they do, you still have to stay. What I'm telling you, you don't have to do a damn thing. Period. You do whatever the fuck you want. I wish we had family core values. I was not the head of the Huber family, and I was the youngest child. So they're in the weirdest and the most awkward and the one that nobody wanted to listen to. And so there wasn't anything that I could fucking do. But as the leader and the founder of House Seráphino, I can do every fucking thing. And I can be, and I can make sure that House Seráphino is run, in my opinion, right. Family core values, just like you see a business, an organization, a fraternity, a high school, whatever, core values, guiding objective principles, whatever the case may be, those things can work. You can use them in your groups of friends. What do you and your friends stand for? What is your family's contribution to this earth? What what will you and your family be known for when none of you are here anymore? What have you done with your time? When you have core values, and how Serafino's core values, I don't have them in front of me. I never do, because I wrote them and then they're tucked away like in notes somewhere. But you know, there are things about honesty, integrity, telling the truth, being transparent, putting community before we ourselves, understanding there's more people in the world besides us. So we step out the door, we don't, as a family unit, just pass right over people. Have you ever been out somewhere, I don't care, fucking Disney or wherever with their expensive fucking asses, and you see like this family and they're still in tune with each other, but they're just like pushing other people out of the way and knocking shit over and they're not even like paying attention. Like they're the only people in the fucking world that exist. That shit fucking annoys me. But maybe you could build your list of core values based off of what the fuck pisses you off. But when you have core values actually fucking listed besides a coat of arms to look at, and that coat of arms is something that you can have printed, you can have like a physical copy of it made like on wood, like a nice fine wood or embroidered. You can do anything with it, or you can keep it digital with whatever that you feel led to and drawn to do with it. But like that family coat of arms is something that can visually have a have an impact on somebody's conscious and subconscious. So do these core values, because it's something that is written. It changes people's energy when they read certain lines and words or they see visual things. This is why when we behold evil and low vibrational things, it lowers us. Even though it might not kill you or you might not notice it draining you, little by little, if you keep exposing yourself to things that do not serve you, it will drain you and take you down. Little by little, if you keep exposing yourself to things that are high vibrational and very positive, it will lift you up. So these family core values are going to help you combat societal conditioning. We get conditioned in society being any type of printed marketing material, and then it gets reinforced, marketing and media, then it gets reinforced by like friends, music, movies. Like what could it be? Like an overemphasis on dating and sex, fear concerning wars and foreign lands and what certain races might do. Anything that we hear and see leaves a mark on us. But when you have family core values in line, this is you telling yourself, your significant other, and your children, this is what we believe. No matter what the fuck the world was doing. And then you can take a step back and look at that, readjust it over the years if you need to. Mm. I would say add to it over the years if you need to. The things that are put down there should not be things that are taken lightly, that should require too much tweaking over time, because it's supposed to be very seriously done in the first place. But we don't need to be trained how to consume shit. Yeah. Babies are born into the world and can't do a damn thing but consume. Like we know how to consume. We know how to get up and go find shit to make us feel good or how to accept. We know how to take. What we need to be taught how to do is to add value. We need to be taught how to give. We need to be taught how to contribute. And look, you might go and establish this family coat of arms and these core values. The Lord might give you your own fresh inspiration, do things I haven't thought of yet. Cool, go for it, do that. And your kid might still grow up and fuck everything up. Well, at least you can sleep better at night knowing you did everything that you could to support them in the highest way possible. I'm not unrealistic. For all these things that I've set in place, should this earth continue and my son have kids and all of that, I mean, I hope that none of them end up being assholes, but it could happen. I mean, I pray and I even speak that it don't because I'm really putting a lot of hard work and detailed energy. But if King David and Solomon and the people, I mean, the ancients did all of their hard work too, and they had people in their family lines who fucked up, why would I think that that wouldn't happen eventually, no matter how many generations it would take? Lucifer could slip in there somewhere, but he didn't have to either. I mean, I pray and hope he don't, but I've done what I could do, and that's all you can do. So as a parent, as much as I've gotten on you about getting your soul work together, once you've done that, you've done all the things physically and spiritually you can. Hopefully, you crank out a good child. If that individual decides that they just gonna fuck up, then child, you go do you and just leave that fucking child alone. I mean, if you have to, because you're not supposed to wear yourself out with a child who refuses to listen. If you have done what you're supposed to do, then lay your head down and rest in peace, knowing that you did a good job, mother and father and other, however you identify as a parent. Because we can only do so much, but we should do every fucking thing we can do. I'm just trying to bring to your attention some other things that you might could do. So names carry so much fucking power. And how did I say? You never know where energy is lurking. What I'm thinking about, I'm going to talk about like the name changes in marriage next. But I'm thinking about how some people, when they can't get fixed, healed from like certain maladies, they've been all these different doctors saying in the United States. I've heard of people coming down here to Mexico and finding certain spiritual healers who do whatever it is that they do, and they can, and whatever kind of power they're working with reverses that, gets rid of that sickness out of them. It reverses that sickness because you just never, you never know, because a lot of issues we have spiritual roots in them. And gosh, when I say that, I think about this woman years ago when Evangelist Nelson was still alive, who I met this woman in a Walmart and I was just like drawn to her. But, unfortunately, she was surrounded by, I mean, fortunate and unfortunate, because God even takes the worst evil and uses it to help the righteous. And she was surrounded by, I mean, her children were like these vile ass witches and different things along those lines. And somebody had fed this woman some type of witchcraft that gave her cancer. And it was something Evangelist Nelson was able to do for her to begin to extract that cancer up out of her. But it wasn't something that she was going to get from a doctor. She had been to all the doctors and everything to try to treat the cancer. It was a spiritual cancer, and it took something spiritual to break it. They that have an ear, let them hear. So when you go run off and decide that you want to get married and things like that, that's all great and everything, but be careful about the name you choose to take, because that name carries energy. It's not just if their last name is, I don't know, Ramirez, and you want to, or Johnson or Williams or whatever the fuck, and you just think it's cute. If you take his name, research that family. I know you're marrying him, and you should be focused on him or her or them. You're not marrying the fucking family. Fuck that shit. You're marrying that individual. But talk to them people, see what they're about, not the fake way they acted when you first met them. Like, not suggesting everyone does that. I'm sure there's somebody out there besides me who keeps it 100 fucking percent real, no matter who the fuck is in front of them. But typically, you don't see that. so, so I'm not talking about how people act. You really got to dig into that fucking family and dig up their demons. Ask them direct fucking questions. Who are you? Why are you? Have you done your shadow work? Anybody who's really done shadow work and has really, really dug within themselves won't mind telling you. It's not going to be taboo or something that we mustn't speak of such thing. As difficult as it is to work through all that, people who have accomplished that sort of thing are proud of it. Yeah, I did it. that I was able to overcome this, and I'm able to measure my spiritual growth and advancement because I was like this, now I'm like this. It's not just this woo-woo thing that was discussed. We actually had a problem, or we don't have this problem anymore, or this problem was this bad, now it's not so bad anymore. There's quantifiable success, mental health growth, emotional growth, spiritual growth when we do effective shadow work in energetic and spiritual healing. Not just kicking cliche terms around, actually doing the damn thing. When people have done that, they will tell you. So when you go and marry people, talk to the family, see where they're at spiritually. And if you're jiving with the energy, great, take the name. But if you don't jive with them people, you don't have to take the name on, because if you take on that name, you're taking on the energy of that family. This is like a universal law. You can't change that because the energy and that name of that family has been building for generations. You can't take the, you can't decide that if you're going to become a Johnson or whatever fucking last name, and you're just going to like leave their energy. No, what the door God has given you is to pick a different name. Now you can take your name, anybody's name, or what I think is the most fucking beautiful is for two people to get married, or however many to get married and come up with their own fucking name. Like chart a new path. You don't have to take anybody's name from anybody's family. You can literally do whatever you want to do. If I get married one day, my husband gonna have a difficult time trying to convince me as to why I should attach his name to the end of mine. Because, and maybe I will and maybe I won't, but there's always gonna be Seráphino in there somewhere. What would be more beautiful would be for us to come up with a name that we feel like represents our personal path and destiny as a couple. Or play with the name somehow to mix our energies together and then come up with something, maybe a little bit of his name, a little bit of mine, something unique like that. You can do this. And then you, if you need it done for legal reasons, you can go down to the courthouse, depending on what state you're in, for around 1 or 2 grand, probably, or you can actually do it free in some courts if you want to do the paperwork yourself. And there's waivers you can get to waive the fees too, depending on the court. If you want to really change the name, and so be it. Or you can leave the name, do it spiritually somehow. If you can't make it to Mexico, if you have enough faith and you can do some research, you really, really have a high enough faith in somebody with some spiritual power, somebody with some spiritual inclination, then you can arrange your own ceremony at your home or wherever you're at. But what I'm trying to tell you is that be careful taking on the names of people's families, because by taking on that name, you take on that energy. Be sure that you're okay with what that family stands for, what they've done, what they are doing, what they plan to do, and how they treat people. So if you got some argumentative ass family attached to your significant other, they like to fight, bicker, and maybe you want to consider doing your own shit. But what I'm trying to tell you, you have options. You're not bound to follow a tradition or a pattern or anything like that. Children can emancipate themselves from from their fucking parents. You got some children being abused who I'm glad when they get away. Emancipate yourself. Fuck that. You don't have to stay there and get beat, and be chained to a bed or denied food or berated. Fuck, had I thought about it or known about it, I probably would have emancipated myself as a child, because growing up was just pure fucking hell. And I think it's beautiful. But, you know, in kids, if you do emancipate yourself, if it's that bad that you need to get away from your family, that change the name right along with it. Fuck it, be done with it. Throw it all out. Start completely over. When I go and adopt my kid in the next however many years, he's going to be old enough to understand why I'm changing his name. His first and last name will change, because whatever fucked up life led him to being in a situation where he needs to be adopted, he needs to understand that that is no more. And within 1 to 3 months, he will be in counseling, because everybody needs to be in some type of motherfucking counseling. I don't give a shit if it's not but once every 3 to 6 months just for a checkup. Everybody, be it with a shaman, a mystic, a guru, a social worker, a psychiatrist, whatever, hypnotherapist, whoever. You need some objective third party set of eyes on you and your situation to be sure that you're not getting off track at least a couple times a year. Some people I know go every week. I'm in communication with these people all the time now. So I mean, so that's done for me. And so all of this all of this incisions, all of this taking away, cutting off, amputating like, people from your life and relationships, it does bear an emotional toll. But just like changing the name, it's like it takes a while to see the growth in the results. Like I had to grow into becoming who and what Seráphino is. It didn't happen as soon as I changed the name. Once you change your name or you cut off people, it's going to take a while for you to experience the freedom or the changes, but you know that you're not comfortable and you know why, and what's the change you need to make. I've made many, many changes. And it's like now, though, the sort of people I'm around, it's like we don't even necessarily have to say, for instance, if we do something for one another, we don't necessarily always have to hear the other person say thank you because we already know what high vibration of gratitude we all walk in and we know we're thankful. We're not taking each other for granted. It's like it's a psychic connection between us, and these are friends. This is not these are not people I'm sexual with in any way because I'm not sexually active right now and haven't been for a while. These are like friends that I'm focusing on building high vibrational, highly qualitative relationships that have nothing to do with sex. And I'm not dating or anything. And it is very interesting. And so if I'm in someone's house or we're washing dishes or whatever country I'm in, it doesn't matter. Even in the United States, the people who are gravitating towards me now, who God is sending, there's none of that bickering like who's gonna do this, who's gonna do that. You didn't do your part. We just move in like a flow and we just know, okay, they did this on this day, and one of us will naturally flow to do that same thing, put the clothes up, wash dishes, water the garden, whatever the case may be. Nobody has to monitor. There's nobody's in fear, waiting to be taken advantage of or afraid they're going to be taken advantage of and making sure nobody takes advantage of them. With all this a fear response, it's like a trauma response. The people who I'm hanging around with these days don't carry trauma like that. There are some who believe the healing is never done. On some level, I agree with that. On some level, I don't. That's a different tunnel I'm not trying to go down. But I'm saying we're not perfect, but we're also not petty either. And we're not checking to be sure or checking for faults in other people like that. We trust who we have allowed into our energy and we let shit flow. And there is an unspoken peace and an unspoken appreciation. We say that we appreciate each other, but it's like it's there all the time and we don't have to keep saying it. It's a natural flow of love. There's a natural flow of reciprocation. There's a natural flow that's as fluid as a motherfucker. And it's almost like we don't even have to try because we've done the private soul work in isolation by ourselves before we have come out and enmeshed ourselves with other people. And now these are all friendship relationships or professional relationships. And now it just flows like motherfucking the finest, most exquisite oil. And it's like it just comes natural, like spiritual natural. But it didn't happen overnight. At some point along the way of me making all of these changes, I looked around and it's been, what is this, May of 2024? It's been like over a year since I started just making drastic changes. And it's like I'm settling into it. And I'm all like, I can see the benefits now. I can see the benefits. I can feel these benefits. It's like these benefits came upon me before I was consciously aware of them because I was such in the business of grinding spiritually and focusing on changing me. And before I knew it, I was living in the blessings of those changes. Holidays, I did not like the way holidays are celebrated in the previous family. These are just some of like my pet peeves. I mean, there's a lot of issues. Like I certainly did not break away from the family I was born into because of holidays, but it's worth the conversation because the way, as they say in John Wick, how you do anything is how you do everything. And the way holidays were not celebrated in the house that I grew up in, the family I grew up in, is like this. You have the holiday, there'll be a barbecue, there'll be some sort of alcohol, some sort of consumerism, movies will be watched, rinse, wash, repeat, no matter what the fucking holiday is. A lot of Americans do this anyway. I My whole thing is, if you're going to turn up, but take a moment and say a prayer for the reason the holiday is there. How many Veterans Days, 4th of July's, Memorial Days came around before I was a veteran, after I was a veteran, and nobody in my fucking and then family I was born into said Happy Veterans Day, thank you for your service, or none of that. Though they ran, got their alcohol and all of the turn up. Oh, for damn sure. They're gonna take the day off work and do them. It's almost like people think that they did something to earn those holidays. The hours you put in at your job do not earn you those holidays. The people who died, who bled, who sweat, current active duty members serving, reservists, veterans such as myself, because we can be reactivated if this country were to go to shit. It's in our contracts that we sign. If this country goes to shit, this is why you have the Department of Veterans Affairs. They're not taking care of us for our health out of the kindness of their fucking heart. It's in case they need us to serve again. If this country goes to shit, the order of it is to reactivate veterans first, and then if you don't have enough people, then resort to a general draft. It's not benevolence. Why the VA hospitals exist, it is not benevolence. And so when you have days off work and shit like that, bitch, it is not because you worked hard at the job and earned it. It's because I fucking worked hard and gave you that damn holiday. It's because my fellow veterans and people who died in wars gave you that holiday. So you have a problem in the blood family that I came out of when holidays and shit like that pass and nobody says a bitch ass fucking thing like, hey D, thank you for crawling over scorpions and rattlesnakes and fucking basic training and shit under barbed wire and bleeding and all of those things that they know happen. If they were paying attention, they may not. And I'm like, this is very fucking disrespectful. And I dealt with that for years, even though I didn't like it until I stood all I could stand and I had took all that I could take. As the leader of House Seráphino, if I ever teach my children about holidays, I will teach them to do it right. And then we will pray, give a moment, even if it ain't but 50 fucking seconds, just to tell God, thank you for the veterans. Please bless the veterans. Or thank you for whatever the fucking cause is, even if it's not veteran related. And then turn up. You know, you can do both. But my huge problem with people is they skip the going back and saying thank you and the giving reverence, and they just skip right to the turn up. I get it's because you hate your fucking life and you really don't like your job and then you really want to get like peace for a fucking moment. I get that. But still, you need to be more thankful when it comes down to the way holidays are celebrated. I'm so pissed off with the way they do holidays in the United States that I just don't fucking do holidays anymore. I don't celebrate Mother's Day. I don't celebrate Father's Day. I'm sure I don't celebrate Father's Day. I don't celebrate Thanksgiving because what the fuck would I do that for? I don't celebrate Christmas because it's fucking commercialized. And you ever seen somebody throw a birthday party for somebody, don't even tell them happy birthday? Like people get together and do a whole Christmas caroling with fireworks, pomp, and circumstance and never say thank you, Jesus. Not one damn time. How the fuck you gonna throw a party for somebody and kick them out of their own shit? If I don't fuck with it, I will celebrate Halloween because at least that's the one day out of the year where people are supposed to be fucking fake. And I'm not celebrating fakeness, but this is comedy. Like, so yeah, let's throw on these masks and everyone pretend to be something that they're not. In my opinion, in like a reverse way, it's the most real day of the year because at least the pretending is expected. And and then there's Dia de los Muertos down here in Mexico. Other than now, fuck with holidays. 'Cause I'm not about to be system relevant or become a part of some shit that's just being done on autopilot, especially if it's devoid of soul and meaning and character. and flavor and life and zest and zeal. And the way holidays are done, they don't have that. So what happens is you teach children when you run a family like this to be surface level, okay, with the things they engage in. You let them experience physical sensations of joy and happiness and pleasure when they're celebrating a holiday that came at the expense of the life of someone else, and you do not set your child down to explain to them why they get to experience today's pleasure. So they begin to think that shit's just going to be given to them, that they just have a right, that they're just entitled to have this day off. And then they take that train of thinking and it translates into areas of their life that are completely unrelated. And this is very dangerous for them. You see this with apps and shit like that. Sex apps, dating apps, people. I mean, even here on this trip in Puerto Vallarta, certain people that I've met, I mean, with the first, they don't know a thing about me, but more concerned about whether I'm a top or a bottom. You know where that shit comes from? In part, I don't initiate sexual conversations. Told y'all I'm not sexually active. This is just how people are. Some people cannot travel without having sex. And so, but when you're on those apps, the way that they're designed, they ask questions: height, weight, tribe. Are you top? Are you bottom? Are you versatile? Every time you click and fuck around with shit like that, you're training your mind that that's what's valuable. You're training your mind that that's what you should be checking for. And you put the app down and then you go about the business of communicating with sexual position first. You give a fuck less about who I am as a soul. When I possess power to heal the insecurity that is in somebody and the feelings of loneliness, why they think they have to travel and find somebody to sleep, whether they really knew who I am and what I'm capable of, instead of asking me the type of sex I'm capable of providing on that most basic physical level, they'd be asking me to lay hands on them and fucking straighten out what's crooked and broken within them. But instead, all they can think about is sex. But, you know, when you're on those apps and shit, that's what it's training you to do. If you have a holiday and you don't give a damn about the depth of it and you just want to have sensual fun on that day and consume, that's shallow as fuck. When you're on those apps and all that, they're teaching you what's important is sexual position, body type, tribe. None of that has anything to do with giving a fuck about who you're trying to engage with. All of that is a subliminal thing, a subconscious thing, but every single thing you taste, touch, hear, see, feel leaves a mark on you. There's an impression, especially when you're actively accepting it. So this is teaching you to be superficial, and it's not a good look. It's not even cute at all. But let me shift gears. Why New York City? When I had gone to New York City for Pride last year. Super excited. If anybody's going to be in New York City for Pride, I will be there for this year. Holla at your boy. Let's turn the fuck up. I was trying to leave LaGuardia Airport. Some storm had come up and like everyone was canceling flights. And at LaGuardia, they were like, but we can get you out in 5 days. And I was like, and it was almost Independence Day because I had stayed up for a while anyway. So I was like, well, fuck it. I might as well stay through Independence Day, celebrate my newfound freedom and blah, 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 blah. And during these days, I was learning to listen more to why things are happening as opposed to being mad. Other people in LaGuardia was cussing out the gate agents and everybody it was a clusterfuck. But I was looking at these people and understanding none of the fighting, yelling, cussing, and none of that was going to actually change anything. So I sat on the floor in LaGuardia and centered myself and got quiet and was just like, what is the spirit speaking to me through this? And I began to understand that the energies are different in New York. I feel more accepted in New York City. I don't feel like I'm fighting in New York City like I did when I was in Louisiana. I have a very extravagant personality. I'm very over the top. I am truly a Sagittarius in that way. I have a very expansive point of view. Louisiana is not like that. When I show up with my colored beard and all my style and my swag in New York, you got some insecure fucking people, but it's proportionally different. You probably got like 80% confidence and 80% strength and maybe 20% low vibration insecurity, homophobia, racism in New York, whereas that is the reverse. In Louisiana, you got maybe like 20% confidence, 20% security, 20% open-mindedness, and the other 80% is low vibrational, racist. You have not only just high sexually transmitted disease rates in Louisiana, but you have high spiritually transmitted disease rates in Louisiana too. Louisiana is a low vibrational state. It just fucking is. And what you get is these country ass people coming from all them country ass little stick cities, so like around Baton Rouge, where I was at, and they come into a city like Baton Rouge, and I'm thinking a lot about all the racist ass gays you have down there. You have a lot of fucking racist gays in Baton Rouge, and they come, and then you got them everywhere, but you have a higher concentration there. And they come into Baton Rouge, thinking they're in the big city, okay, thinking they made it. They have not, and they're not doing a damn thing. And it was hard for me to fight against that energy, try to fight for acceptance because they never were fucking going to accept me. I'm too confident. I'm too bold. I'm too brave. I'm too comfortable in my own skin. I know who I am. I know what direction that I'm headed, no matter what got through at me, no matter what struggles I had to overcome within myself, no matter the addiction, no matter the what, I still was trying to help the world, trying to minister, trying to be an entrepreneur, trying to do my own thing, trying to be free, and that pissed them off. My entrepreneurial spirit is something that damn near everybody in New York City has. There's so many vendors. It's so like Mexico. There's so many like food vendors, people selling this, all these markets, this. You got the Wall Street and the financial district in Manhattan and all of that. Absolutely, you have the big, tall buildings, but don't get it twisted. All throughout the boroughs, you got people doing their own personal businesses. That entrepreneur on the streets selling this, selling that, setting up shop here, doing you get that same kind of energy in Mexico. There is a drive there. There's a hunger. New York is fast paced, but it's not like distastefully so, or it's not like it's gonna wear you out. It's fast paced because people understand in New York that you got to get up and get shit done. Nobody's expecting to just hand you some shit or nothing like that. I'm on board with that. I'm saying all this to say New York City's energy matches mine. And it was during that stillness while I was held in New York and could not fly back to Baton Rouge that I began to understand this. And I said, okay, Lord, do you want me to move to New York? And then I tested it. I flew to Japan last year. I came back and I flew to New York and I was like, let me just see if I can find a place to live within like 48 hours. And I did. And I took all of these things as a sign that I should go. But there was also an angel that visited me when I first moved to Baton Rouge like 10-ish years ago. In physical form, this angel came when I was in a restaurant visiting somebody who I am no longer friends with. But at this time, and I was visiting him in a different state, like in the, fuck. Yeah, I was in the East Coast at the time. Huh. Interesting. I'm just thinking about that now. I was on the East Coast. I think I was in Virginia. I was in Virginia. And so this angel came to tell me that I would be moving because of what it was. I was in this restaurant. It was like kind of something like a Popeyes or some kind of chicken joint like that. It was like fast food-ish, but not really. And in a moment, it's like this. I noticed this guy sitting at this table by himself. It was a table that could seat four. The dude I'm no longer friends with, and I was at this table too, a table next to him. But it's like my friend didn't even notice this guy was there. Nobody noticed this guy was there. And then I don't even know how the fuck we started talking. I don't know who said what to who first. He was like this white dude, like a fanny pack on, kind of like this green hunter outfit with plaid, very unassuming. But he still had that look in his eyes as all angels do, like they just know. And how I got on the subject, I was just telling him I didn't like living in Louisiana, and he was just like, "You sometimes you got to stay somewhere for a while." And with what he said, how he said it, I understood that he was telling me that I would not always be in Louisiana, but he didn't tell me where I would move or when. And for fuck's sake, if he would have told me it'll be another 10 years before you leave, I probably would have fell on the fucking floor. But because I always thought I'd move to Los Angeles. I never thought in a million years I'd be on the East Coast. But it would make sense to me now sitting here thinking about this as I'm talking to you, for an angel to come to me on the East Coast when God knew I'd be moving to the East Coast, when that was nowhere in none of my damn plans at all. I had thought about Atlanta, and then it was prophesied to me through Evangelist Nelson not to move to Atlanta. She told me I would not prosper in Atlanta. Didn't say why or nothing like that. She just said, do not go to Atlanta. Sometimes some cities just are not meant for you to go to. Other than that, she just said to be sure to be prayerful about it and whatever. But she told me, don't fucking go to Atlanta. But, 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 but this angel told me this years ago that I would be moving, and this angel, he wasn't eating anything. Nobody talked to him. Nobody said anything to him. And eventually I shifted my attention back to the person who I was there with, and I didn't think about that person. I don't know. I don't know. He's just like, I guess left my mom. I don't know. I've just put my attention back on the person I was there with. And you wanna, the open-mindedness of New York is like when I would be in Louisiana and see like somebody at like a gay bar coming through there with a crazy outfit on, like maybe a leather kilt or something like that. Specifically, I was at one of the big dance skate bars down there, and there was these two young African American queen, these gay dudes throwing shade at this older like white dude that like gray hair, but he was serving like this Scottish goth realness, kilt look, something that's totally fucking on brand anywhere in my opinion, but especially in New York. If you show up looking like that, it's almost like the crazier you look, the better. It's like that in Tokyo too. There's not really like a defined fashion. Like we have fashion week and we have high fashion in New York, but that's an industry. The day-to-day people walking around the five boroughs wear what the fuck ever. And the more outrageous it is, the more people are like, fuck yeah. Same thing in Tokyo. And that's not why I'm wearing my Tokyo shirt. I just realized that I'm wearing this day. This was just my colorful inspiration for it being Sagittarius full moon day today. That was not what synchronicities are synchronicities. But I thought about how those two young African American dudes threw shade at this older white dude. Why? Because they're insecure. They hated him for his confidence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Also, they sowed very bad karma for themselves. If the Lord decides to even let them live to get them dudes look like they were in their 20s, but the Lord decides to even let them get to be that old, they're probably going to have a fucked up elderly experience. They won't be able to twirl and kick around a club like this older guy. I mean, he physically was older, but his spirit was youthful. He looked like he could have been. His hair, the way he, like his physically, he might have been 60 to 80, but the way he was bouncing around the club was spunky and shit. Those two African American young black gays who decided to hate on him when they could have spoken positivity, like, or shut the fuck up, or if they even get to live to be that age, people do die young, are not going to have that man's energy. They're going to be bent over on fucking canes and shit because they wanted to be bitter and hateful and shit when they could have chosen any other vibration. In New York City, that never would have fucking happened. I'm saying all this to say how much better my life is in New York and how thankful I am to be there and why I'm not in fucking low vibrational ass Baton Rouge anymore. Not everybody in Baton Rouge sucks, but like I explained earlier, the proportions just aren't there to have warranted me staying there. I went there, learned the lessons I needed to. The Lord evolved me and strengthened me. And when time came for me to go, he got me out of there. So if it's time for you to leave your city, then pray about it, test the waters, go. And it's a thing to be cautious because when the Lord starts to remove the righteous people out of cities, sometimes he's doing that to remove people so that he can let judgment strike and fall. It's just like when God got Lot and his crew out of Sodom and Gomorrah, he waited. He wouldn't destroy that city until the righteous left. So when you see righteous people, there's people who have like talk of leaving Baton Rouge. I'm not the only one. There's people who are really fed up with that city and with that state. And but when you see that starting to happen, you might want to pray and take notice because God can move against whole cities, against whole sections of cities, against groups of friends, against groups of people at a time. But he oftentimes won't, he really won't really fuck them up like he's going to until he gets us out of the way. But when I got to New York, it wasn't all glitz and rainbows and shit. I was, I flew in the JFK and it was like, yeah, I'm in New York. But then it was like, I remember having to go and lean up against like one of the side of one of the rails on one of the air trains that take you over to the subways. And I just had to like, I just got like super emotional. I had to like cry and shit because it was like, you know what, fuck, I'm in New York, yay. But then the reasons why I was there were still weighing on me very, very fucking heavily with the breakup and the cheating and the devastation. I was damn sure pushing forward and pressing through it, but I had to press through it with fucking tears. So I'm in this new promised land, but the heaviness was still there. But nevertheless, it seemed like the further away from Baton Rouge I got, the lighter I felt. Even when the plane would take off at Ryan Airport in Baton Rouge, it's like I would just instantly feel lifted, like a weight was lifted off my shoulder, and just getting up above the negativity that seems to prevail over that town. And I know, yeah, in order for me to get positioned in New York, it would take me 7 fucking months to do it. I did not think that going up there would take that long. And the hardest part was being away from my children, like my cats, Felix and Felicity. I had been with them daily, with the exception of traveling, since they were born. I got Felix when he was like 2.5 months old, and Felicity when she was like a month and a half old. They're 5 and 7 now. They weren't used to me being gone that damn long. I wasn't used to being gone from them. My heart goes out to parents who have like human children who are in some sort of work, whatever type of situation where you can't be around your children, especially they're like little babies that you can't necessarily call and talk to. I I tried to talk to my cats over the phone. It really didn't like work out. And then after a point, I was like, fuck, I'm just gonna make it worse on them to like hear my voice and then they don't see me. And so I just like pulled away from it and stopped. I know with some cats that can make them feel comfort, but mines are like me. They want the real motherfucking thing. They want the real McCoy bitch. They're not interested in anything. Where is the vanity? Period. That was the hardest thing. And so I put myself into this psychic space and I just of like a type of like, I don't know, avoidance, denial, detachment or what, because I had to stop everything all at once. Stop gardening, stop being around my cats, stop everything. Of course, the bankruptcy happened. And then my house wasn't supposed to get caught up in it. Then it was caught up in it. And then that was a whole back and forth thing. And it was truly a fucking mess. Nevertheless, I know the voice of God and I know where he told me to go. And so to the New York City I went. I did get that room like I stated earlier. It was a bad situation. It was one of those houses where you see a lot of in New York where you might have 5 or 7 people in one house trying to make it work, and it was terrible because it ended up being a house full of all of these narcissistic ass dudes, and it was just terrible. The person who was like the landlord was the worst of all. Super negative as I would come to learn. It's not that damn narcissistic energy was still trying to fucking follow me and find me because it does that shit. When you're in that cycle, you really, really got to get away from people and go into isolation to sever those energies from you because that shit would it's like it would try to reach out to you through friends, through blood family, through anybody you try to relate with, especially if it sees you trying to get away from it. That's when the heat really gets turned up. And and it and it was just like I was only maybe there for like a month or 2, and I just didn't even bother getting like the deposit back when I left because it was just that damn like toxic and terrible and bad. The one night when I came back there, I was like high on whatever, and that landlord knew it, and he ended up coaxing me into like a sexual situation, and he should not have done that. But nevertheless, that is so that is what happened, but that should not have happened. I wish it didn't. But because of that and other reasons, I left whatever the money was, 6 or 7, $900 deposit, and just left and just entered into the homeless shelter system until until I could rearrange shit and organize shit to get it together. I will talk more about all of that in upcoming writings and books because the homeless shelter system with the 11 o'clock curfews, I couldn't dye my hair in the mirror. If you're talking about like 300 people in some of these men in some of these shelters, I couldn't do it. Couldn't even dye my hair in the mirror with these people trying to like either gay bash me or get naked and try to get me to have sex with them in the shower. It was just like, now that I've decided that I'm getting away from toxic narcissistic energy, I couldn't fucking escape this shit no matter where the fuck I turned in New York. To deal with this shit for 7 months now. I had a dream when I was in one of the shelters. I ended up in 4 or 5 different ones all over New York. Then they transfer you and shit like that. And if you miss curfew, you lose your bed. It's a whole shit show. Had a dream that I was like a rainbow. I've seen myself as rainbows in dreams. God doesn't have a problem with queerness at all. But I was this rainbow in this dream, and it's like it was like a square, a rainbow like in a square, but I was surrounded by darkness on all sides. I was the only thing that was bright and colorful in this dream. I was surrounded by such a low vibrational, toxic masculinity. I've never seen a group of men complain, whine, bitch, fight. The food's too cold, it's too hot, the bed's too hard, it's too soft. The Health and Human Service, HHS workers yell at people in them shelters. You got to deal with the yelling from the other homeless people. You got to deal with syringes on the floor, people trying to sell you drugs in there, blood on the floor, shit on the floor, pee on the floor. Some they clean every day. Some of those shelters they only clean on the weekend. It's but I had to do what I had to do. I knew one fucking thing. I wasn't going back to Baton Rouge because that Baton Rouge is not home to me anymore. It's where I'm from. I'm proud of my Cajun Creole Louisiana and heritage, but energetically, it is not congruent. There is no going back to Louisiana. It took time, but the Lord worked it out. But now I'm very stable and situated in New York. It was so, but this association that I developed was like so bad that I was a part of this therapy program at the New York Botanic Gardens up in the Bronx through the Bronx VA, very exquisite program. But the first time I walked into these gardens, I couldn't sit through the damn class because when you go to the gardens, you pick things out of the gardens, you cook things in the class, you talk about the plants, how they grow, how it relates to mental health, how you can use nature to heal. It's a very fucking badass program. It's a 4-week cohort. I had like a fucking panic attack of epic proportions that took me about 2 hours to calm down from. And I wanted to just run away from the class, leave, call an Uber or some shit. But one of the VA workers talked me down and talked me into staying. I couldn't fucking deal with being in a garden. It was raised garden beds. Like I always like at my house, I had like 3 raised garden beds, and not being able to garden, I didn't realize just how attached to it that I really, really am. But when I knew I had to do what I had to do, I just cut that out of my mind. But I just didn't think about it. But when I walked into that garden, we started pulling the greens that they had and stuff like that. And then we were in the garden has like a kitchen attached to it, and they had the cutting boards, things that I really fucking love to do. Get in the kitchen, work at the cutting board. I have very exquisite knife sets, very unique cutting boards. All of that was gone. There was no more cooking. I was eating prepackaged processed food at the shelter, which I'm thankful for. But I went from daily gourmet meals prepared, eating off the land, to fighting and squabbling over food in a homeless shelter every day, gratefully. But when I saw this garden and everything, it just flashed all of my previous life back at me all at once. And I had to get up and fucking stumble out of the classroom and shit and couldn't breathe. And I was crying and everything. And it's like everything that I left behind came rushing back to me all at once. And then what the devil did, this is the one of the last things I'll say before I close. What the devil did was to try to take advantage. Because see, when you're ascending and in the midst of all this, I'm still going through my spiritual ascension while my physicality, my physical world is in complete shit show shambles. But what Lucifer was trying to do was to destroy me while I was in this weak and vulnerable state. He did not prevail because there is no purpose or no counsel which can stand against the Lord. Hallelujah and amen. There is no purpose or counsel which can stand against the Lord. What Lucifer was trying to do was take advantage of this by sending all the, I had so many fucking, I mean, I already have a lot of enemies, but it was intensified during this time. And it just kind of felt like when Jesus was born, I'm not saying I'm the Lord, but I am in the Lord and the Lord is in me and I do his commands. But when he was born and Lucifer was after him through Herod trying to kill him because he was vulnerable, physically vulnerable, and the angels would come and tell his parents, take him here, take him there. And he was like on the run from government, from powerful enemies, but those enemies did not prevail over the Lord. And they just kind of gave me those vibes, man. I was like a tender person, a reborn, being rebirthed into a new life without physical protections. But God is stronger than this world. And so what the devil was trying to do was he was using the raw emotions that were being worked through and really triggered every day by the living situation against me. This is why I had to stop drinking. I wasn't no heavy drinker in the first damn place, but I would drink a little bit, and on some nights and some days I would feel like I needed to go do drugs. On some days, I wouldn't. There was no like rhyme or reason as to like why one day I would have like a drink or two and be fine, and another day I would feel the need to go get high. And then I had this dream the last time that I was in the mental hospital and I was talking to this angel in this dream. And this angel was explaining to me how now that I've ascended, the level of devils, like the strength of the sort of demonic beings that I fight has also heightened. And the type that I fight, what they were doing was taking like those few sips of alcohol and making shit that I was sad about, being away from my cats and healing from all the damage of the past and making me feel sadder about it than I actually was, making it seem worse than it actually was. So if I was going to be a little bit depressed, the devil through this liquor was making me even more fucking depressed. Okay. We hear people say things like alcohol is a depressant. I did not accept that because I'm not an alcohol. I did not consider myself to be an alcoholic, but it would seem that alcohol can be detrimental to you even if you're not officially an alcoholic. Because this was a gateway for Lucifer to influence me, even if it was just a little, doesn't matter. He was using it like it was a lot. And so you don't have to be an alcoholic for alcohol to be bad for you. You do not have to be an alcoholic for alcohol to be bad for you. Not sure if I said that right the first time. And so I'm sitting there in the mental hospital, and I was hospitalized a lot. I was hospitalized in for like the 7 months I was in New York for damn near 2 or 3 months of it. I had fucking pneumonia. My body wouldn't heal by itself. My HIV charts and all of that was fine. My body was just, it just couldn't deal with it. And maybe the Lord was trying to get me into isolation. I was still in the hospital though. When I had pneumonia, releasing my podcast shows and fulfilling orders and working on things for Down Under, I didn't stop. I was there in my gown, on my fucking with my fucking IV with the fucking antibiotics to try to kill the pneumonia and breathing treatments and shit, and still fucking doing it, bitch. Because I wasn't about to fucking give up. God damn it. And but I had pneumonia, rhinovirus, COVID twice, and the flu. Some of it I caught while I was at the damn VA in the fucking mental hospital because they have piss poor COVID. I wouldn't even call it COVID protocols. When you get it, they just put you in isolation, but they don't force mask wearing, they don't test people right, or they send them up to the psych wards. So some of the shit I actually caught while I was in the hospital. So there I was back in the mental hospital again, and for like suicidal ideation and shit like that, I was really fucking depressed and sad when I was up there, even though I know it's where I was supposed to be. And And so this angel is telling me what is happening, what Lucifer's devices are and his tactics and how he was trying to take me out. Because it's not just the overdosing from the drugs, which is what I think the devil was really trying to do, but it's also the dangerous people that I would be around. So when I saw this in this dream, I accepted what I think I had already known, that alcohol really was not good for me personally on a spiritual level. I ain't saying alcohol is bad. It has good qualities to it, but I am saying it is sneaky. And it's one of those things that can become bad before you're willing to realize and confess to yourself that it is. It's tough because society reinforces it. Your families could reinforce it. Social situations could reinforce it. And then you wonder, what is my social life going to look like if I put this drink down? I'm going to tell you better. My body's fucking fantastic now that I don't drink anymore. And it's like I felt like talons, like maybe eagle claw talons had been in my heart the whole time. And when I really fucking truly stopped drinking and the Lord took that from me, he took away crack, crystal meth, cocaine, and alcohol all at once. It was like God flipped the light switch and turned it off. And I hadn't had a desire for it since. Let me be clear. This is not like an AA or some sort of anonymous meeting sort of healing. This is God's healing, the only one that I would accept. As I told the Lord, if you're going to deliver me, I want to be delivered thoroughly. I don't still want to be pining away for some shit, trying to quench the desires every day. No, I don't want it. I want to be completely out of sync with it, out of alignment with it. I don't want it. Okay, I don't want it. I don't need it. Take it all the way if you're going to take it at all. And that's what he did. Felt like talons had been taken up out of my heart where I had been being controlled by alcohol and I didn't realize it for so many fucking years. Started drinking when I was like 5. Okay, I was raised in Louisiana. It's what you do. And and then what was I physically on this earth 41 when I stopped? I'd say it's about damn time. We can switch over to something else. I do believe in replacing something with another, and so I became a psychonaut. Through psychedelics, my inner child has been healed. He's not broken anymore. I made sure to still monitor myself, so I took the satirical, the Zoloft, a little bit of it because it didn't make me feel zombified while I was still working with the shamans and everything and switching over to the psychedelics, and I don't use prescription medication anymore. It was gonna be psychedelics. Just to be sure shit's still staying on the up and up. But that is why I stopped drinking, because this angel came to me and told me what these demons were doing, what Lucifer's plan was, and I couldn't logically take another fucking drink, knowing that if I have one little fucking drop, then that devil is there. You could say that damn devil is there, waiting to get a foothold and to bring my emotions down to make me do things to self-harm that I would not have done otherwise. Not like this for everybody. You have to identify what's going on with you and then acknowledge it and accept it and be willing to detach from and let any motherfucking thing go that does not serve you. Okay, you have to let go of everything in order to save your life and to gain eternity. You can't hold on to anything or anyone. You got to let shit go, no matter who the fuck they are or what they are. You have the power to do this. Oh, it's going to be hard. I mourned. And when I was talking to psychiatrists, I was like, I have to mourn the loss of the social circle that came with alcohol, that came with those drugs that I mentioned that I let go. And I gave myself space to do that. Shed a tear, have a funeral, do a burning ritual, something. It was important. It was a part of my life. There's a funeral. It's dead now. I had to mourn to stop drinking. I had to mourn to stop the drugs. I had to mourn to stop that. And that's okay. It felt right to give it a proper fucking burial, if you will. And that is why that happened, because my future in New York and whatever it is I'm set to do for this world was not congruent with alcohol. And my psychiatrist, whenever I travel, especially down here in Mexico, where people drink them beers, those cervezas, tequila, everywhere you go, and they're like, "So you went to Mexico? You didn't drink anything?" And I'm like, "No." They're like, "Not one time." No, no, dog, not even one. You know, they're very, very proud of me, and I'm thankful to God, and I'm proud of myself. Because when I'm done with some shit, I'm done with some shit. It doesn't matter how long it was there or how much I thought it'd always be there, because I have mastered attachment through all the fires that I saw in that dream. that I mentioned at the beginning of this show. And I told God, keep me in those fires. The fires are not the most comfortable thing, but in those fires lie refinement, extraction, things get taken out of me that I don't need. Truth is in there. Evil can't get to me like that. Lies can't penetrate that fire. I've taken certain steps to be sure that the people around me have to tell the truth. I took certain spiritual steps because I can't have liars close to me. I've taken certain steps. Somebody gets within a certain sphere of me, the truth will come out of them. I have it is done. But I'm going to say the purpose of the Lord that will prevail. If nobody else has told you this, I'm going to tell you this. I give you permission to stop drinking. I give you permission to be yourself. I give you permission to do what the people around you are not doing until you can get yourself in a situation where you can get yourself around people who are more congruent with this new higher vibration level that you're trying to attain. I give you permission to seek out people who will elevate you and not take you down. I speak that your eyes be open to the energetic traces and signatures that are attached to every little thing in this world. I want you to see, and I speak that you can see things for what they really are, and that you can see alcohol for what it really is as it relates to you. And to an extent, others around you as it is applicable to your situation. I give you permission, and I speak that you'll be able to see the influence of any type of mind-altering substance on you and your relationships, your businesses, and the way you show up to things in this life. I give you permission to discover who you are and to be truly free. This whole name change, this whole move to New York was me standing in my own power, which is also the power of Christ, the deity I choose to serve. All right? No shade at anybody's spiritual choices, but you must be fucking clear on what you believe and why, and unwavering. This is all about me being me, not what the world wants me to be, not what the blood family I was born into wants me to be, not what nobody wanted me to be. This was me before the divine going, let me get clear. Okay, now what shall I do? Doing it. And everybody else, fuck them. They're cool with it, great. If not, fuck them. But we moving forward. This is a power play. It's a power move on my part. I sacrificed everything to do it, but I wouldn't trade the life I have now to have kept the last one. I thought I was living. No, I'm living now. God gave me a new life. And only God can give you happiness in life. So you got to be where God wants you to be, or you're not going to be happy any fucking way. So if I'd have tried to stay in Louisiana, I wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't have been right. Because only God can give you peace where you're at. So going to a place won't make you happy. You got to get the changes within you situated first and started. And then if those changes, and if God wants you to move somewhere else, then you go. I want to be clear. I didn't move to New York to get happy. I moved to New York because it's where God wanted me to go. And New York is energetically as far different in a way and separate from Baton Rouge as you can get. And the power of that change was a power that helped to break me from the energies of the past. That's just the shock value of it is what God used to work me up out of it. It didn't happen overnight. My New York initiation was brutal. It was tough as a son of a bitch. And it was just, I don't even much even, it was just like so much. It feels like about 7 years have gone by since I left Baton Rouge, and not 7 months. Nevertheless, it's what has to be done. Your change is going to look like how yours is supposed to look. But I encourage you to seek it no matter the cost, and to seek it without delay. No matter what it costs you, it should not hurt. You should not be destroying other people. Now, if they feelings get hurt, that ain't your damn business. Fuck them. You got to do you. Be yourself, children. Reach out to me if you have any questions. The website is sexdrugsandjesus.com. On YouTube, Sex, Drugs, and Jesus Podcast, and on TikTok as well. Thank you all so much. Happy Pride Month. I will celebrate Pride, not just for me, but for you tonight and these next few days here in Puerto Vallarta. Thank you so much for listening. Please share this with someone you know. Thank you all so much for joining us today and for taking some time to invest into yourself and into the lives of your loved ones. Please visit us at sexdrugsandjesus.com and check out our resource page. our spiritual service offerings, my blog, my books, and other writings that God has partnered with me to create. Find us on any social media platform. Stay strong, my people, and just remember that everything is going to be all right.